Good morning. So, this morning, rewind. Yesterday, there was downpour, rain all day long, and some of the branches fell in our backyard. They didn't hurt any of the animals, they didn't damage any of the structures. Some plants were broken off, but nothing crazy. Anyhow, that prompted me to be inside today. I have to go out there and clean up, but it's still pretty wet out there, so I'm gonna wait a little bit. But this morning, my husband has been doing some late spring cleaning, early summer spring cleaning, or whatever, however you say that. And so he had this box for me to go through, and I started to go through it, and I try to rummage through my paperwork and old things, probably maybe once or twice a year, just to see what's in there and if I need to get rid of anything, all of that. So I did that. And the first thing I see are some seeds from a long time ago. And being a seed saver, I am fully aware that every story carries a seed. Every seed carries a story. And that story is linked to many families, many cultures, however that may look. But so I just held them seeds in my hand, and then I read through trying to find dates, and I'm a plant lover like that. And then I started to go through some of my paperwork, and I started to find poetry about my sons when they were little, some of their birth papers, the emotions that I felt when they were young. They're adults now. And so all of the memories came rushing in, and the emotions just snapped back into my heart place like a puzzle piece. And I wrote about my curiosity on how they would be as men and my hopes and dreams for them. And it was, I don't know, it was just like this beautiful bridge that was created, because now I'm here. I'm reading this from a young mother who wanted the best for her children and hoped that she had enough strength and courage to carry them along that path into adulthood. And here I am reading this when they are now adults. And everything that I wrote down has come to fruition. They are beautiful young men with kind hearts, and they are compassionate, and they care about the earth, and they care about our culture and people in general, and plants and animals and water and all of them things. And so it was just really beautiful, to see that written down and to remember them young nerves of a mother, so I loved that. Then I also came across some paperwork from my father. His mother took her journey when he was a young boy, and there was a lot of trauma around that, and so I seen some of her paperwork where she lived when she took her journey. It says she was a homemaker, domestic, and it said a lot of things. It said where she was buried, all of these things, right? And then I seen a paper that I had written about my dad. My dad had called one day, and he had told me about a dream he had about his parents and how he missed them. And so this paper I'm reading, and it says that my dad, before his mom took her journey when he was 8, he had asked her to marry him because he wanted to love her forever, and he didn't want no one to hurt her. And that just really sat with me. I have 2 sons, and my dad lost his mom when he was really young, and and my dad has now taken his journey, and he took his journey at a young age. And I think that my dad was always that little boy searching for his mom. And I seen that when I gave birth to my sons and I was a mom, I I noticed that it clicked. I was like, oh, he still is looking for his mom. And at that time, when I noticed that, my dad was like in his 40s, and he still, that little boy was still in his eyes and still in his heart. And so this paper I'm reading, and it says that he would give anything to hold his parents' hand again, because he remembers that's one of the memories he has, is holding his parents' hand when they would walk to the park. And I remember when my dad was struggling as he got older, he took his journey at 49, which is really young. But he struggled a lot with the passing of his mom. But I remember I wrote him a letter before he took his journey, telling him that I wish I was his mom because I wanted to love him as a little boy. Because I knew he needed that. And I seen how much he needed that. And so, just reading all of these things, that, we keep a lot of our paperwork in a cedar chest. And, you look over at that chest, or you look at, your bins that are full of your paperwork. And it's all of these life memories and all of these emotions. And they're in this chest or bin or in your garage, in your basement, And it's really important for you to read them and go through them, maybe with your own kids or your family members, because that's somebody's story. Them seeds in there, that's somebody's story. Them seeds share stories and carry stories. And I'm really grateful that I keep a lot of my, papers, and I write a lot. And I really invite people to write. Our family, I've mentioned this on this channel, that our family has a moon journal. We have moon journals. We bury some of our moon journals so no one finds them. But we kept moon journals back from the 1800s, and it's just beautiful to be able to go back and learn somebody's story that you might have never met, that is your relative, or, that's the beautiful part about writing things down. As a culture, we're an oral culture. We never really wrote anything down. But, times are changing. I'm creating a blog right now. And so it's really important that you write down your story, because somebody in your family will want to know your story. And all the papers that I read this morning about my sons and being a young mom and all my hopes and dreams, and my dad's feelings and his hopes and dreams, and it's just all the emotions flooded in. And I'm grateful for the times that I am quiet in the morning and I pray and I get to do things like this, and I look at like this pulled out bigger picture, that, yesterday's rain, which seemed like really great for the earth. I love rain, but it was crazy. It was crazy. We had to drive in it a little bit, and it was crazy. We were like smashing into puddles, and then all of that happening transferred into today, what happened today, which was a really beautiful morning for myself. And so, and it all has to do with Mother Earth and nature, and because what happened outside came inside. And then I looked at these little seed packets that were so old, and they were just sitting in my hand. And right away I'm like, oh, the curiosity in the gardener in me was like, maybe I could plant them. Let's see if they. And then part of me, the nostalgic little girl of me, was like, oh no, I want to keep these. I want to keep these for my granddaughter, that will open up this cedar chest, or, look at these papers and be like, when did these seeds arrive into the world, and who carries that story, and then go through all of our papers. So that was emotional. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I think we need to connect back and connect in with each other. I think it's important. And, in my heart, I come from a space, a heart medicine space, that we are all one, and love just flows through us. It flows through us. And sometimes this can cloud that love. And so I try to come from this space as much as I can. And it's when I do that that I see light in myself, in everything, every living being around me. And that's where the magic is. That's where my dad is. That's where his mom is. And that's where all them stories flow through. Okay, that's all, friends. I hope you have a magnificent day and are surrounded by beings who shine love to you. Dokshta ke, chimigwech nina wopira.